Hi, this is Barbara Rourke of WCFA and Cape May Radio, Cape May, New Jersey. And today, the WCFA Spotlight is on Bob Lee of Wildwood. He's a poet, a retired IT guy. And hi, Bob.
Hello.
Tell us about yourself. How did you start writing poetry?
Well, actually, it started with music. I started piano when I was about 8 years old. And then when I got into my, I guess, early 30s, I started writing. I wrote about 15 songs. And so I started writing lyrics. Well, the music thing just never took off for various reasons. But I did find that I enjoyed writing lyrics and then poetry. So that's basically where it started.
And then you had a hiatus there from writing, I guess.
Well, because of certain things that's happened in my life, the music thing is pretty much dead. Um, I've lost my studio, all of my instruments, so I don't really have the means to, write or produce anything, but I can write. So that's where I'm heading in that direction. I've started 2 books, and I'm starting to concentrate more on poetry at the moment, just to keep my mind engaged and to keep the juices flowing. I don't want to just die of atrophy sitting around doing nothing.
So you're a retiree looking for the energy that poetry and the arts might give you. Um,
Exactly.
how long were you in IT?
16 years.
Okay.
But I actually started on computers, must have been around the mid 80s. I had a Commodore 64. I built a monitor for it from Heathkit. I started to write a program because I was a mechanic to manage the shop, to write invoices and all. Well, I got as far as the opening menu and the thing ran out of memory. So that was the end
Oh
of that.
yeah, those were the days, eh?
That's when a cassette deck was your memory device. But then I had my fingers in it like most of my life. But now I'm just too old. Nobody wants me. So
Probably you're a good consultant. Do you think there's a connection between poetry and the mathematical part of it and your skill in computer science?
well, I never really thought about that. I suppose there could be maybe the way of thinking logically, pragmatically. My poetry tends to be very reflective, sometimes dark. It doesn't really go off on any strange tangents most of the time. And since a lot of it was based on the lyrical objective, typically it had like a romantic tinge to it. As far as a direct connection to IT, that was always more of a means to survive than anything else.
You need food on the table, right?
Exactly.
Um, you're gathering materials for a book then, or 2 books?
Well, one book is, I'm not sure yet. It's either a mystery, it's going to be full blown horror. And the other book is kind of a nonfiction book that I started. As far as the poetry goes, I'm hoping to compile enough to write a book,
Mm-hmm.
probably self publish on something like Amazon, because I know it's very difficult to get published.
Right.
So that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
much my idea at this point.
So you have something you can read for us, like even the Dead Mind. I noticed when I read that there's humor in it, but it's dark, but it's humorous, and I'm not sure about what point of view it is. Do you want to say a few words about it, or just read it,
Well,
or
some of these that I might read today, I'm taking a course on Coursera, and it's
pardon me?
basically Coursera. It's an online series of courses you can sign up for.
Oh, okay.
Many of them are free, and this one's like an introductory course in poetry. So they give you a number of prompts. Now, the Dead Mind, the prompt was a conceit, which is basically like an extreme metaphor.
All right.
So the only thing I come up with was the Dead Mind. So I ran with it and I wrote it. In the end of the day, what does it really mean? I don't know. I just thought it was clever. So
Would you like to read it now?
sure, I'll give it a shot. All right, so here it is, the Dead Mind. A glimmer resounding, some essence a foundling, a floating a shimmer from parts that are dimmer. The crest of a wave, left whole and yet pieced, a jest from a knave, well paid and yet fleeced. The soul it does yearn, but the giver deceased. Can we know the depths deeply flowing, the questions we sow, the tempests were growing? The heart does cry out, desperate of knowing, yet weak and so venal, so dark and yet glowing. With portents of mort, the sentence primeval, to strive but fall short, to live froward is evil. Are we yet there, merely echo and shadow, a dying weak spark under stones in death's meadow? The mind, it's precocious, it flitters and flops, its pride is atrocious, all facade, all old props. The presence we felt running round in our head, cold icy affection, mere moldy reflection from a memory that's dead.
The point of view is a person who is already dead, or would that be a metaphor for a dead mind, which in a live body? Sorry.
Well, I guess where it came from, one of the books I'm writing deals with quantum mechanics and metaphysics and faith. And one of my theories is that our mind is really not ours. We
Hours.
are right. We are connected through quantum mechanics to a higher power. So, from the personal level, it's kind of like we have an external entity within our soul that we think we control it, but we don't. So I guess maybe that's where that came from, although it's often a different tangent. That could be like that was the genesis of the idea, if you will.
Wow, quantum mechanics. Cool.
Yeah. What was
Well,
interesting about that through my research, scientists have recently discovered that the brain is literally flooded with photons. And photons, through quantum mechanics, a photon on one side of the universe can be spinning, let's say, to the right. Another photon on the other side of the universe that's connected through, I forget the term, but through quantum mechanics, spins to the right. Now, if the one on the other side starts spinning to the left, the other one instantaneously changes to spin to the left. So the idea being is maybe these photons in our minds are actually connected to something higher.
so that's kind of reminds me of that phrase about the flutter of a butterfly at one part of the world affects everything
Right,
in the
chaos
world.
theory.
The
Chaos
what?
theory. The chaos theory.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
That's chaos theory.
yes, yes,
I don't know what I'm even talking about. So it's like I've just heard that phrase in the air,
yeah.
it's in
The
the air.
flutter of a butterfly can cause a tornado on the other side of the earth, basically. That's the idea. I
Yeah.
don't really subscribe to that. I think that's a bit extreme, but
Might
let's see.
not be so extreme, right? Just
Right,
but you're saying a similar thing with the photons, uh,
right,
just because of the connectivity. Okay.
exactly. Here's one.
Okay.
Now, this one's a little dark, especially in lieu of the idea that I'm getting to the age where time it has a certain amount of value for me.
Yeah.
and, and at the same time, it seems the older we get, the faster it goes. But anyway, this is called Spheres of Pain. Strike a line across the spheres of pensive memory trapped in tears, lighted flames of darkest night. Think one wise and lose all sight. Clockwork hands on face constrained, a thousand summers burned in pain. Laughter now sardonic grins, the painted lady trades in sins. Spinning tales of fates recast, eyes of lovers haunt days past. Turn the light, reflect the loss. The wage of fiction, the coin a toss. A prosody of dreams drawn dry, stream across a mocking sky. Dusty windows parallaxed, broken sonnets bear the cracks. Breathe and let the songbird pine, of mislaid virtue, deep in brine. 'Twas not the reason the tempest sings, we're given seasons, but lacking time.
Thanks. I can see the rhythm there, and in the other one, like I can see where you're a songwriter. You got the two main beats at each line at
Yep.
one, two, three, four, one. It's like a 4/4 beat or something.
Yeah, and I've
That,
noticed recently I tend to write in about 7 syllables.
okay.
I don't know why, but that seems to be
Kind of
my habit.
haiku-ish or something.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that poem a little?
Some of these, like there's one I wrote called St. Vitus Dance. That one is 3 pages long. I'm not even going to try to read it. It's not an easy read. But a lot
What?
of these are just streams of consciousness. I feel inspired. I sit down with a pen and a pad, and 10 minutes later, I come up with something. And a lot of times it has to be polished and refined, but the seed of the idea is there. So that's pretty much how I write most of the time. I don't really sit down with any intention.
Okay. Well, let's hear another one, even if it's a little bit long.
This one here, this was another prompt from that course. And the idea being is take an existing poem, typically something famous, and take the last word of each line that rhymes, and take those rhyming words and create a new poem from them. So I took Acquainted with the Night by Robert Frost, and based on those words, I wrote a new poem. So it's called In Welcome Sky. It's here upon my bed falls night, and against my ear is rain. Abhor the dawn of morning light. Hear them gather in the lane, the murky plumes with dollar beat. What this pretends I can't explain. Up I leap on sleep-numb feet to listen as the ravens cry. A cohort pined for in the street. As I witness their goodbye, with zeal they climb to retake height, to regain poise in welcome sky. Ravens know not wrong or right, but hide their sorrows in silent night.
Thanks.
Just to give you an idea with St. Vitus Dance, St. Vitus Dance is basically prose. But on the second page, within the prose, I wrote a poem. So I can read that one to you if you want.
Oh, sure.
It doesn't have a title because it's part of the larger work. Well, here it is. The candle burns the shadows deep. Gaze upon the question turning. Within the instant grasp of sleep, the pain of books were burning. We hold these truths on slender threads, a stifled false soliloquy. Leave tattooed fictions in our heads. They burn without the urgency. Recall the yearning soft caress upon the breast of our sweet sorrow. The dead man often says it best. Leave the worry for tomorrow. In morning light, I'll know my part. Take up the staff and follow. Whither take me, foolish heart, to innocence or sorrow?
Wow. Okay. So you have a lot of thought-provoking stuff here.
Yeah. Now I can give you 2 paragraphs out of St. Vitus Dance. This is as it's coming to like the height of it, the
Okay.
climax.
Okay.
So without going into the whole thing, because I don't even know what this all means, to be honest with you. I intend to sit down and write an explanation of it because it was all stream of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I've edited it like maybe 3 times, but I still don't really know what it all means. But I'll give you the climax of it. So if you're ready,
Mm-hmm.
I see the roses, she demurred, beaten senseless on the pickets, stained with tinctures of their crowns, a forlorn tumulus let wretchedly desecrated in sultry betrayal. The wage of innocence, ever cruel, betray not genteel coquettes. The recompense due abject etalons of unrequited idol, or oft paid in most shameful specie of currency. The mask tossed on the cobbles, the thespian has left the stage. These vulgar coils conjure dour visions of tout and bitter caitiffs in the dark stillness of evening. Such are prisons forged for the shackled and bespectacled men of dark misprision. It is indeed a vile thing to bring to lower estimation the dominion of dignities, while sitting it fitfully in their own engorged shamefacedness. Indeed, it is but props to live and breathe amongst the carnal, who tarry long but live short, and feign love but hate with vigor.
These are big ideas, actually.
Yeah, they're pretty deep. See, at the time, I was studying Shakespeare, so I bought like all the works of Shakespeare. I bought dictionaries. I bought study guides. I mean, I must have had 10 books on Shakespeare, and I was just starting to study them. Well, I had to sell my entire library, which was upwards of 500 books. So I lost my entire library. So now I just recently bought the works of Shakespeare. And now I got to buy another dictionary and start all over again. But
Well,
that's kind of where some of these, not the ideas, but his style of writing, that's kind of
style,
where,
yeah. Hmm.
yeah, that's where it was going.
On the King Lear side of things, yeah.
Yes,
Well, Bob, thank you for coming to talk to us today.
sure.
And
Yeah, and you mentioned Facebook. I've been on Facebook a couple times.
how would somebody get in touch with you? If they
Well, at present, all I really have is an email address.
okay, just the email. And okay,
Facebook, I was on it a couple times before. The problem is I can't keep my big mouth shut because people
okay.
will say things that tick me off, and then I get into arguments. It's like I don't want to
I
go there.
I think it's healthier to put it into poetry anyway, the way things are going these days. That's Lee Sinistry at gmail.com, LeeCinestry at gmail.com.